Juan Williams, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. It's the event everybody's talking about, Kanye West's America First sit-down with President Trump at the White House.
You know, they tried to scare me to not wear this hat, my own friends, but this hat, it gives me power in a way.
We're going to have more of Kanye in the West Wing ahead, but first, Democrats Hillary Clinton and Eric Holder are under fire for their recent comments attacking Republicans.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Michelle says that, you know, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them.
And President Trump's responding to Holder.
You better be careful what he's wishing for, that I can tell you. He's better be careful what he's wishing for.
What do you mean?
That's a disgusting statement for him to make. For him to make a statement like that is a very dangerous statement. You know, they talk about us. We are exactly opposite.
And Congressman Steve Scalise, who was shot by a deranged left-wing gunman, is calling out the left's mob mentality, writing, quote, "If they want change, they need to convince people with their ideas and actually win elections, rather than call for violent resistance, harassment, and mob rule." Meanwhile, Holder's predictably backtracking, tweeting, quote, "Okay, stop the fake outrage. I'm obviously not advocating violence. In fact, when I was AG, violent crime in the U.S. was historically low. I'm saying Republicans are undermining our democracy and Democrats need to be tough, proud, and stand up for the values we believe in. The end." All right, Dana, one of the things that really works in politics is when you make your political opponents fight amongst each other.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's happening right now. You have Michelle Obama, Hillary, Eric Holder, all fighting amongst each other, and that helps the right.
You know who would not have apologized? Michael Avenatti.
Oh, that's true.
That's true. Right? And I do think that there is something about the wings, especially on the left wing right now, wanting a fighter. Somebody's going to stand like, why would you apologize for that? Obviously, one, you could say he got a laugh out of the crowd. President Trump says lots of things get laughs from the crowd. And what does the left say? Like, oh, I can't believe he said that. It was terrible, right? And now the right is saying that about Eric Holder.
Fake
like,
outrage.
Oh my God, like, it's all about proportionality.
I'm going to use that fake outrage line next time I say something controversial.
Fake outrage.
Right.
But Avenatti would not have apologized.
No, he wouldn't. He would have doubled down.
Exactly.
Greg, it's funny the Democrats debating on whether to take the high road. I don't think they've ever taken the high road.
Accusing an innocent man of gang rape for about 2 weeks is not exactly the high road. And where does Scalise get off lecturing people about violence?
Yeah.
Anyway, I will say this before I get into my serious. I actually believe what Holder is saying because I believe in the principle that you don't take the worst meaning or the worst intention of what somebody's saying. I don't believe he was inciting violence.
Right.
He was basically saying you have to fight harder. Having said that, accusations of incivility, in my opinion, don't bug me at all. I think incivility is actually pretty good because it reduces the chance for violence. If you're incivil with each other, it might mean you might not punch. The thing that bothers me is the incitement and enabling of a mob. So when you have Netflix employees, for example, stalking Kilmeade in order for a show on Netflix and then inciting the passengers on the subway to join in this orgy of persecution. What you have to look for is you have to look at people like that because persecution is like this contagion. It's like when you're in a mob, it's spread through repetition and it can happen very easily. And I think we need to contrast words again and deeds. What Holder's saying is words, but you got to look at the deeds. And people are comparing Donald Trump, you know, his words to left-wing deeds. I get it. Trump can be rude. His jokes can be mean. But there's no right-wing Antifa or Occupy Wall Street. There's no right-wing Scalise shooting. There's no right-wing mobs chasing people out of restaurants or Broadway plays. And there's no right-wing Netflix employees because nobody who's right-wing works at Netflix.
Yeah, right. So when Holder says something like this, I didn't think he was actually talking about literally kicking Republicans with his foot.
I'm glad to hear this.
I think most people think that. But with Greg's point is that in the context of all the other deeds that have gone on in the last week, month, year, where there's been violence and threats and things like that, it doesn't add anything to the conversation in a positive way.
Oh, I think it does. I think both Dana and Greg said to you, Jesse, that what Democrats want are people who are going to stand up and fight for the Democratic brand. Right now, Republicans control the White House, the Congress, and the Supreme Court. And oftentimes they feel like, remember that USA Today piece the president wrote this week? They think he gets away with saying things that are untrue, and nobody's standing up and say, hey, this guy is misleading you, Republicans. Hey, where did you go, Republican Party? Come on back. Don't need to become Trumpian. But here's the thing. I'm listening to all you guys, and I think, wait a second, what kind of one-sided presentation is this? This is the guy who was at rallies this week, and he's got the crowd yelling, lock her up. Not about Hillary. It was Dianne Feinstein.
Clever.
This is clever.
It was a nice transition.
You want to give him credit, but at the same time, when Holder says Democrats need to stand up, oh, he's inside. I just think that's crazy. And
but
then,
we didn't say that. We've said that that's
consistent. And then you say there's no shooting. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Steve Scalise was terrible. That was an act of horror. But you got to admit, they went into a pizza parlor in Washington.
The pizza parlor thing, though, is
yes.
You've brought this up every
I bring
day
it
this
up.
week.
Okay, I'll bring up. How about Charlottesville?
Well, wait,
did they run over somebody in Charlottesville? Was that a right-wing mob?
It was one person, and they were nuts.
Oh, I see. So in other words, you excuse
it's a bug. No.
I
didn't. No, wait. Let me finish. When it comes to Republicans, we got to be honest. It's a bug in the system. When it comes to the left, it's the system. You guys have had the Weather Underground, the SLA, the Black Panthers, the Manson family, Antifa. Well, Republicans have nothing like that.
You have white nationalists. You have a Klan. How about the John Birch Society back then?
Who are fools.
No, but I mean, you make excuses whenever it's on the road.
It's not an excuse. I hate them as much as you hate them.
Jedediah, what do you think?
It's interesting. You both gave Holder the benefit of the doubt, and that's great. I probably would too, but he wouldn't give you. If one of you said that, you could forget it. He wouldn't have your back at all. I think this all started with the refusal to accept that Trump had won, and it started with that. And people on the left said, you know what, this was not a proper election, and they incited everybody to say that this election was not tangible and they should rally against. And it started with Maxine Waters. And I think the difference is these are leaders. These are many leaders now in the Democratic Party. You know, people talk to me all the time, oh, Tea Party rallies, you know, the signs they saw at Tea Party rallies. I don't want to hear about signs and have that. Signs of people at a rally, which, by the way, I never saw an offensive sign. I went to 1 million rallies and never saw one. I don't want to hear that compared to leaders in the Democratic Party, Holder, Hillary Clinton, who could have been president, coming out and saying outrageous things. And good on Michelle Obama, by the way, who came out and said, this is not acceptable, what's going on. I'm sure Hillary Clinton was not happy with her, but I commend that because I think when something like this happens, it's important for people within the party itself to stand up to it. So any Democrats that come out and stand up to this, I salute them as well.
I wish the Republicans would stand for some of the outrageous things.
Many Republicans criticize Donald Trump when he says something that is not appropriate. We are very willing to say he shouldn't have tweeted that. He shouldn't have said it.
I wish Jedediah. I wish
we the last 2 years.
I want to differentiate between what we're talking about, though. And I don't want to litigate political violence here, but Greg was bringing up a lot of examples, and I was yesterday, of left-wing attacks on Republican officials, cabinet members, Trump family members, elected officials. There's been violence perpetrated by the right on the left in the streets, and that's awful, and that's random. But when you're going after political leadership in a democracy, that takes it to a higher level, and I think that's the difference.
What going after political leadership?
Ricin, threats against family members, chasing them around in the streets.
Jesse.
How is that any different?
What I'm saying is that's an attack on a political leadership and not something, you know, driving into a car or shooting up a random pizza place. I'm not excusing that. I'm saying it's different categorically.
What? So it's different if someone stands up and says, hey, I disagree with you. I think Mitch McConnell, that what you did denying Merrick Garland, and I'm in this airport and I'm going to let you hear it. That's not America.
So
harassing somebody out of a restaurant?
With the Maxine Waters approach?
What's Maxine saying?
Chasing people through restaurants.
Oh, no, she didn't say chasing. You are so dramatic. All she said was, it's okay to stand up and say, hey, you're wrong.
Be gender neutral.
All right.
She said, get in their face.
Coming up, will Democrats' smears against Kavanaugh sink them in the midterms? Trump's latest attacks next.